Good afternoon, and thank you. I really wasn't kidding. I am the least informed person in this building, probably on biodiversity specifically and all those kind of things. I am, however, kind of useful with data and data collection and data standards. And since data came up previously as the topic for the afternoon, I'm very excited to be here today. One other thing, just in terms of our role, WALTI is the Biodiversity Sciences Institute. In this context, we're not a government agency, so whatever I say is not government policy, it's not agency policy, it's simply ideas and direction and so on and so forth. However, to give you some feeling for where this is going, our current customer, we have a data sharing advisory group running under WALTI that's been set up. And just to give you a feel for how that's working, that's chaired by Tom Hatton. We've got 4 of the DGs, Peter Quentin is the Chief Scientist, Howard Cole's the CEO of New Zealand, and it's meeting quarterly on this topic. So while what we're saying isn't policy, it will give you a bit of a feel for active government direction. So with that as a caveat, we'll jump in. I've been at WALTI for about 15 months in that time, and our role when we started was all about opening up access to data and data for purposes of being used by a community. First thing we did was to sit down and define who are our customers, and we defined 7 different markets in that context. So from research to the approvals in the assessment market, production, conservation.
Chris, can you talk into the mic?
Apologies. Is that better?
Hold it.
Out of my comfort zone now. Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you. So really, who are our customers? And from our perspective, it was anyone who created or consumed biodiversity information. So that was plants and animals, on ground, above ground, but limited to non-marine. When you put the numbers out there, you very quickly come up with between sort of 3,000 and 7,000 active customer groups, depending how you do that. And that's by following part regulatory trails, part research trails, part community groups, NRM groups, and that's in WA. And that actually, if you go over into the federal space of government agencies working inside WA but not accountable to WA, the number starts to expand out. So it's quite a large market, I guess, is where we were heading with that. So the challenge that we've been given, and this is been given by that advisory group, and specifically Tom, was really to, and it came up just previously through Jason's comments, improve our understanding of cumulative impact, the cumulative impact of an effective action on a region over time, and effectively understanding what they are and how do we transparently communicate those for whatever purpose is required. So to inform a community, to inform an EIA decision, to inform a research outcome, irrespective from our case. How do we get all the data we can together, get it categorised and get it available using the right tools so that you guys can start to use it in really intelligent, productive and useful ways. The challenge we were given last year was, and in quotes there, and you've almost got to say it with the frustration that was there. So when we started, we interviewed 25 senior stakeholders, and that was from across that spectrum of key folks. And the frustration was, if you do nothing else, and the angst is quite real, if you do nothing else, get after the data involved in the EIA process and for goodness sake, make it publicly available. That was the overriding direction that we were given. And so proud today, and so pleased for Dewar and the team that was backing this. That's what evolved into IPSA in that particular case. So there was around 50 people involved in getting that project just to the definition stage, and then a huge amount of effort by Dewar and the other government agencies in that process to actually get it up and over the line. The IPSA impact, that $38 million, just to give you some context of where that was generated, there are around about 500 surveys that are done every year, so it's an annual, it's a recurring activity, flora and fauna, and they're obviously of different regions and different scales and different complexities, but there's about 500 a year done under Part 4 and Part 5 of the EP Act. When you run the numbers and you profile those, it drops out at around about $40 million a year. They're quite conservative, and the EIANZ and the ECA were involved in helping to generate those numbers. So they're conservative, but they're real. Pardon me. What they don't tell you is some of the details that gets broken down by that. So out of those surveys, there's around 50% in the Pilbara, around 25% in the southwest, and only 25% done in development zones across the state. Now that's really important when you start to think about cumulative impact and where we have information, more to the point where we don't in that particular context. It's also conservative. So that number is about 50% low in my personal opinion. I'm happy to have a debate and defend it, but it's a conservative number. It also doesn't take into account other acts. There are another 25 to 32 acts that we've identified that have data collection and data type regulations associated within them. And some of them are really, really old and not enforced. Some of them are particularly of interest. And from your perspective, I imagine the one that's of most interest is the Mining Act, where there are indeed an additional 300 surveys a year done under the Mining Act, not under the EP Act, to the same guidelines, etc., that are working their way through that process. Now that might be for condition monitoring and reporting, but it's linked in that particular context. So the low-hanging fruit is give or take another $30 million a year of surveys, which are just sitting out there waiting to be tested as to how we might be able to get after those. It's also interesting, I imagine, to look at the scale of your market. That's just the quantum of effort going into data collection, as we've identified it, not the generation of reports, not the interpretation of reports and those kind of things. So in terms of the ECA and the EINZ, I guess we're estimating that the scale of the quantum of the total size of that market for that particular purpose is somewhere around about $75 million a year, just based on the quantitative evidence that we've been able to pull together. So that in itself is all a really positive thing, but it does actually lead to the so what. So we've collected a whole bunch of information. Isn't that terrific? It's an annual thing, so it's going to get refreshed. What does that mean? And what might that enable, say in 2019, 2023, 2028? So this has just started. You're going to get 500 surveys a year coming in, 1,000 next year, 1,500 the year after. These are valid for 5 years under the Act. So suddenly you're going to have a whole bunch of retrospective data to go back to how the efficiency works and where you can test, of data that may be available for people to use and reuse over that given time. One of the things that we did, again last year with that advisory group, was to compare and contrast a little bit with similar industries or patterns. And my background is geoscience. I'm an exploration geophysicist, if you go back far enough, and a lot of the data, of course, that's associated with that. However, there's a very clear parallel from our perspective between biodiversity and mineralogy here, and that's the Geological Survey at WA. So GL Survey has been running for 100 years. Its job is to be the asset manager for geoscience data. Geoscience data is collected by doing all the survey type things, all the things Garth spoke about. I've got to plan my surveys, I've got to execute my surveys, I've got to collect the data, I've got to manage the data. Importantly though, I've got to report the data back to the Department of Mines. In that particular context. Now that's been going on for a long time, but what that has enabled is a very rich geoscience data set on behalf of the state. And our request or our challenge back to that advisory group was, what if we had the equivalent for biodiversity? What if we had the equivalent of a biodiversity survey for WA? And we don't have one. So at the moment there is no single agency or entity who is charged with collecting, managing, caring and looking after all the biodiversity data collected in the state. That might be community data, it might be relatively low quality, it might be relatively low scientific rigour, right through to the data that you guys get, which is top of the tree in that context. But no one is charged for that, no one is funded for that. And what we've been saying is, well, it's, what if we could, what would happen if we had one of those, and what might that enable? Last year, again, we did a very, very quick analysis looking at quantitative and qualitative economic benefits here. So there's two components to this. One is putting the value on the data that gets collected, which is the $38 million a year. So it's building a data asset. It's effectively the balance sheet element of what's going on. We also did some reasonably quick, yet semi-plausible, if you're generous, economic analysis around the time benefits of what's there. And we just looked at EIA. So here's a challenge for the group, because we haven't cracked it. If your unit of measure is $1, how do you put an economic measure on an environment? How do you do that? So how do you put a value? And we've only found two ways. Simplistically, one is associated to time. Can I speed up a decision, positive or negative, in that particular context? So if I'm going through an EIA process and I can accelerate that, what might that look like? The second thing, can I put a cause of a non-action? So if that isn't developed, what's an economic benefit or destruction? Or if it is developed, what's the downstream positive net effect? And we came up with a very simplistic one that was again relatively non-contentious. And we actually asked Tom Hatton as the chair of the EPA, what if you knew what if you understood cumulative impact and you were confident in the information that you had, so that you could understand the cumulative impact of a proposal when it comes in, without actually having to go and do more assessment work or PER work beyond what was already submitted. So you've done your survey work, that's been submitted, and you have this large database that's sitting behind you, which tells you whether that survey is credible. It will tell you what the cumulative impact's likely to be. You can start to model the offset impacts. If you had that information at your disposal, what would that mean? And he came back and said, well, probably there are 2 proposals a year that come in which would not have to go through a full PER, a full assessment in that process. So we cut it down to 1, and then he said there's probably 4 a year that come in which would not go, that would go through PER, that wouldn't need to, they could just go through the cut down version of that in that context. And if you run the times for those, and you say the full proposal can take, if it goes out to full consultation in 6 to 18 months, we cut up to 9, from a PER to an EIA, I think, to a EA, I think the expression is. That's 6 months, we cut it to 3, and we cut the 4 to 2. Productivity Commission 2013, $70,000 a day, run the numbers, it's $40 million a year. And that's hard money, and that's proponent money. And they're really interested in that because that's hard dollars that they shell out. It's not soft dollars that government can't claim. So it's very hard to claim an end that's taken out of the government process from the government side. It's very hard to get money back. The proponent, much easier. It's in that order. Again, they're conservative numbers, but they're kind of passed. So in that instance, you're starting to say, okay, there's some hard dollars on the table that is a benefit to this. So if you can save up to $39 million a year, and most people are looking for a 10 to 1 return on an investment, does that mean I can spend 3 a year, give or take, on actually collecting and scooping up that information and starting to enable that cumulative impact to start to be understood? Bear in mind, all the decisions that we're making there are evidence-based, but with imperfect knowledge. How do we get as much data to improve that decision-making process? I won't go through these, just from a time point of view. We listed that. There's a whole bunch of qualitative benefits that were identified in that consulting process as well, and they're all around increased transparency, better decision-making, better understanding of conservation state, better understanding of threatened species distribution. Those kind of things are all in that mix. I'm very happy to share the document too. I'm starting to work with a bunch of academics, and they've told me that I can't have a presentation without a graph. So we've got a couple of shiny graphs to put up. So simplistically, and these are cartoons, that's all they are, but they're simply there to start to demonstrate a point. And they were very effective as a sales tool, I have to say, back in November with that advisory group. The lines at the bottom there, so what we're saying is the IPSA value, so IPSA literally being what it is now, which is capture the data as it comes through as part of the EIA process, and as appropriate through the copyright, etc., make that publicly available. What would that cost? We assigned a notional cost of $500,000 to do that. The government's actually done it a lot more cost effectively than that. So that's what the graph represents. It doesn't represent the real cost. What we then said was, if we could get all the information coming in and then start to really make it fully publicly available in that context, what might you get? And so that's the graph on the, I'm going to point this guy. So here you've got a cost running out over 10 years, that's about $3 million a year. That's the flat value there of the cost of an IPSA. Sorry, that's the $500,000 a year running through. That's if we spent $3 million a year, looking after it. That generates you that line there. The IPSA value, and this is actually what the government's implemented as that line there, that's a $38 million straight line running up. So there's all sorts of problems with the graph. But it demonstrates that over 10 years you're going to get about $400 million worth of data. Interestingly, and this may be of interest to you guys, is the jump from here to here. The fact that the data is valuable over 5 years, we went back to the six, to our knowledge, the 6 largest terrestrial proponents in the state, BHP, Rio, South32, Alcoa, Iluka, and FMG. And we asked all 6, hypothetically and only in principle, if this got up, would you give us, under the same legal conditions, the last 5 years of survey data? So it's retrospective. So IPSA is from the date go forward. Could we have the same data that you collected under the Act retrospectively? And only in principle and only verbally, 6 from 6 said yes. So what that suddenly gives you is access to, give or take, another 3,000 surveys. It's your work, for all intents and purposes, which could be put into the biodiversity survey equivalent, which starts to actually enable cumulative impact. You can suddenly be a trend, you can look backwards and push your way through. The line on the right is the $39 million going out. In other words, it's a reasonable investment if you wanted to get after it. Why is this important? So this is BHP slides. This is from their strategic assessment in Flora. So the area there is the area that they were looking through their strategic assessment in terms of boundaries. This is the total Pilbara operations in 2015. BHP in orange, FMG Rio, a little bit of Alice sitting there in purple. And it starts to give you a feel for what the as-is state. That's changed a little bit. There's a couple more come online, but not significant. That's what's proposed. And that's what the government knows about that's proposed. So there'll be a whole bunch of stuff that they don't know about, which is also proposed in that area. So if you're an EPA person and you're charged with protecting that area, or more to the point, a valid environmental impact assessment of a proposal in that area, and that's what you know, the information, and that's what's coming. You need as much data as you can get. What does that look like in real terms? This is, again, data from BHP as part of their strategic assessment. It was modelled by Simon Ferrier from CSIRO. And it's a confidence interval for conservation significance of plants. So this is just the confidence interval graph. It's a little hard to see. This is actually white, white out here. So what that's saying is, the bit in the middle, funnily enough, is BHP tenement. So that's where they had lots of data, so their confidence interval was higher. The areas to the east are more FMG, the areas to the west are more Rio Tinto, where they had no data, therefore the confidence interval is very low. However, if we'd just had a conversation and the principal agreed that they would give us that data and we could put it into that model, that's going to be a very different looking exercise. And that's the so what, that's where there is value in getting after this information, and then the right tools to make that available. What do we need to do to get after it? If we're going to create the equivalent of the GL survey for biodiversity information, I won't read them. We've got 5 strategic objectives that we're working to. The first one is cultural. It's around encouraging the right policies and settings and the attitude around sharing data, and that's been spoken about a bit. The second is getting the data from as many sources as we can, and that's a shoe leather exercise. That's to literally run around, pick it up, and put the right digital systems in place where we can to make that happen. Third one is acknowledging that, and this is a big thing about what IPSA is and what IPSA isn't. IPSA is collecting a whole bunch of individual surveys. It's not the process of putting it into curated data lakes. That's a separate task. That takes money. How might we get that money to enable that to happen? Number 4 is around, so how do you start with the analytical outcomes, working through, and 5 is the end outcome in terms of optimised decision making, etc. Potential outcomes. I won't go through these purely because I've boxed myself into a corner on time. One thing we do want to expand or think about a little bit is the concept around digital EIA. And again, not a new concept necessarily, but in terms of thinking through, okay, so rather than actually doing the EIA on a report, which is currently how it's done, IPSA is a step in the right direction. You've got to give the data that validates that report, which is start that journey for technical assessment and technical compliance. But imagine in 5 years or 10 years' time when there's an extra 5,000 surveys sitting in a system, and imagine that's a smart system. And that system has the intelligence and the analytics that's there and underpin it to actually be really, really useful in terms of the modelling, the predicting, the validating. The question was asked earlier, how do you know if someone's putting good data or bad data? What if the system said, I've got 5,000 surveys to draw from, and you just put in some sample data, I'm going to run some confidence tests. And I'm going to do some compare and contrast against what that survey said versus what this 5,000 other surveys said. And all it might do is say, yeah, that kind of makes sense statistically, or actually that's an anomaly, you should probably have a look at that, positive or negative. That type of thinking is where we kind of just testing, is there an interest and an appetite of going there? And it's not big data, it's complex data. You know, the data size is not the problem here, it's complex. We acknowledge that, there's work to do. So help please. in this particular context. We've got 5 domains that we're working through. We're testing how this might work. So what's going to go right and what have we got to avoid going wrong in terms of people, structure, the engagement, etc., the policy, what legislative change do we need, what regulatory change may we need, what home agency may it sit at, processes, what do we need to tidy up in terms of how information flows, how data flows, how assessments might be thought through in that process, data standards, all different things in there, and lastly the tech, which is probably the easiest, in terms of where might that data sit and then what funky tools and models and algorithms and things might we start to surface